And everything I heard, I loved. And I loved it for a couple of reasons. One, that it was what my heart had been crying out for. But the other was, it was simple. This is simple stuff. This is not complicated at all. Anybody can do this. And that was, wow, I just couldn't believe it. And I went on to do facilitator training, which is probably the best training I've ever done in my life, actually, of anything. I mean, I've had my own company for 40 years. And I've done many courses. This even in my business would have helped me had I done it previously. As I said before, John, once you taste this, nothing else meets it. This is the gold standard.
Welcome to Stories from the Revolution. I'm your host, John White, and the co-founder of LK10.com. On this podcast, we share real-life stories from the front lines of the relational revolution, where people all over the world are rediscovering a simple, relational way of living out church just as Jesus intended. If you're a current or former church leader who's felt restless or wounded in traditional church settings, or if you're longing for deeper community, deeper leadership, and deeper joy, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. What do you do when church just stops feeling like church? For Tony Carey, that moment came after 25 years of loyal service, leading, organizing, and pouring himself out, only to feel more isolated and invisible than ever. What began as a vibrant house church had grown into something that felt sterile, silent, and disconnected. Is this really all there is? He wondered, but Tony didn't walk away. He went searching, and what he discovered, what he tasted, ignited something brand new in his soul. From the west coast of Ireland to living rooms around the globe, Tony's story is proof that it's never too late to rediscover joy, community, and your God-given voice. So great to be here with one of my friends from across the pond, who I met 8 years ago. We'll tell a little bit more about that story. But Tony, share who you are and where do you live? Let's just start with that.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tony Carey. I live in a city called Limerick on the west coast of Ireland, at the other side of the Atlantic.
One of the fun things about Luke 10 for me is it's allowed me to develop really wonderful friendships with people kind of all over the world. And Tony would be high on my list of people that I really enjoy. So what was your experience in traditional church? If you had to pick kind of the one pain point that most caused you to become a done, what was that?
Yeah, well, I was involved in a church for the last church I was in for about 25 years. I would have been one of the people that started the church. We actually started off as a small group in a house, but very, very quickly grew into a large group and ended up in a building and all that went with that. Meetings became front-led with a small band, one person teaching, and really little or no activity from those in the pews at all. And I thought that was very sad because I'm sitting with people who I know vaguely, but I never get an opportunity to know them very, very well. There's a meeting on Sunday, there's a Bible study during the week. Again, no participation from the people involved in the pews. And therefore, I just thought to myself, is that all there is? Is this church? Is this real? This can't be so, because what I'm reading about suggests all sorts of wonderful things should be happening, and it just doesn't seem to be the case.
And the emotion that went along with that? Or emotions?
Sad and lonely. I would be sad that disappointment in that my excitement with finding Christ and the joy that I had just seemed to be getting dampened, and lonely in that I never really felt connected to people around me. I mean, as connected as people that I would be at work with, it wouldn't be any deeper than that. And I felt again that should be something other than what it was. Jesus told us that we were to love one another as he had loved us, and by that, that would be the witness to the world. But I vaguely knew any of these people to an extent.
And that was a church you've been in for 25 years. So
yeah.
So you were just a visitor on one Sunday.
No, and in fact, I went to the point at times organizing weekends away for the very point of actually trying to get people to know each other. And believe it or not, they ended up quite fractious instead of, because people did meet each other unprepared for it. And the church stopped it because they thought this isn't working at all, which is very sad. I was very upset over that as well.
How did you discover Luke 10, and what drew you in to Luke 10?
Well, I would remember that the smaller meetings, I did a bit of mission work actually in my younger life, and we lived in a house out down the country in Ireland. We invited people to the house, and the meetings were always excellent. People did engage and whatever. So I always felt there was something in small groups. That's where, we would see more, we would hear more, there'd be more involvement. So I had this kind of gravity towards small meetings, well, house meetings, and in the church during the week, sometimes I used to organize meetings, and at times people shared and they were more involved, and I thought there's something in this. So I searched for information, internet and whatever. I read one or two books, and I came across a reference of Luke 10, looked it up, and at the time there was loads of articles. I read all of them, and I said, wow, I contact these people because maybe somebody is doing something like this in Ireland. So that was my query, actually. So I emailed and ended up speaking to you.
That was your first Zoom call, I think, wasn't it?
It was. There were technical difficulties, but we got over it.
I remember it well. So what has changed in your life as a result of connecting with Luke 10? And how does it feel?
Yeah, so I did the Church 101 course, and I just loved it. In fact, I wasn't paying attention the first time that I did it, and no sooner had I finished it, I said, "This is I better do this again." I wasn't paying attention, and everything I heard, I loved, and I loved it for a couple of reasons. One, that it was what my heart had been crying out for, but the other was it was simple. This is simple stuff. This is not complicated at all. Anybody can do this, and that was. Wow, I just couldn't believe it. But I suppose the relational point, checking in with people and listening to their parts. And I went on to learn skills. I realized that, it's possible to enhance this by learning. And I went on to do facilitator training, which is probably the best training I've ever done in my life, actually, of anything. I mean, I've had my own company for 40 years. And I've done many courses. This even in my business would have helped me had I done it previously.
But what's an example of something that you learned in facilitator training that seemed significant to you, especially anything that related to the pain that you felt in your previous church? Anything you could put your finger on?
Yes. I think the biggest lesson, I have to say I'm still learning, by the way, is learning to pay attention to people. Saying that there is somebody here sharing something, it's important that I listen to this person, that I pay attention. And that even I, to the point that I probe even what they're saying, ask what they say something, and ask more questions and get them to open up. And that's really wonderful. For me, that's the hard thing to do. I love talking.
That Irish thing, right?
Yeah, it's storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was it, and also that every person is worth listening to. That everybody has something to say and to contribute it, and the more that happens, the more the gel, connects people together as they're meeting, because we see each other's hearts. It's just really wonderful, really wonderful.
That heart-to-heart connection kind of thing we talked.
As I said before, John, once you taste this, nothing else meets it. This is the gold standard. When people, and no doubt, this is the way God made us. This is how we love each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you went through Church 101.
Yes.
You went through Church 101 again.
Yes.
Then you got involved with facilitator training.
Yes.
I've ended up facilitating these Church 101 groups. And how many of those have you done? Have you led?
I know that I've done 67 because I actually was able to track that back to actual whatever, but I've done certainly, another 20, 30, more than that, that I hadn't recorded.
So people that have been in your groups, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. These are individuals, yes, that I've facilitated. And I have to say, another joy of my life. Again, watching people come alive with what they're learning, people saying all the oohs and the ahs and the wows. And even recently I tracked a few of these people and asked them to come back to me and to see where they've gone and how they've got on, and the joy of practicing what they learned is really wonderful. And that's been a great joy to me as well.
So how many groups would you guess that involves? How many Church 101 groups, ballpark?
Well, you're taking an average of sort of 5 people. So, you're talking 20 thereabouts.
Probably there are 20 different Church 101 groups you facilitated.
I would say easily, yeah.
Why would you do such a thing? Why would you keep signing up for that? What is it about that motivates you?
It's the strangest thing, actually, because I say I'm going to do this, remembering that I did the last one. And before I start another one, I get as nervous as anything. And 5 minutes into the training, I just say, wow, this is what I love. I really love this. And as I say, watching people come alive, watching people waking up to the wonderful things that they're learning. And the lovely thing as well is that they're also different. Facilitated so many different types of students, elderly people, all sorts of people all over the world. That's another fascinating thing for me. I'm not stuck here in Ireland with facilitation. It's people everywhere and anywhere, and it's really wonderful.
I know initially your heart was primarily for Ireland, which it still is.
Yes.
Now you've made disciples of people in places all over the world. I tease you about being a global disciple maker now, right there from Limerick, Ireland. So what does that feel like?
It's something I would have never expected. As you know, I recently in my retirement took up tour guiding. I got a qualification, and I'm actually guiding people around the place. And I see that this is probably this is my God-given thing, to find things to show people, to get excited about things and say, hey, look what I found. And that's where the joy comes from. When you see people who are loving what you're bringing to them.
Beautiful. Well, I know our relationship has been a delight for me. You and I have ended up with lots and lots of Zoom calls. You actually come over to the States, and took that big risk, and so fun to meet you in person, but mostly Zoom calls. And it's incredible the level of friendship that we've developed over the years just by looking at this silly screen. So I treasure that. So.
Yeah, and even through that, even though we're miles apart, what I've learned and what has been invested into my life has been incredible. It's just amazing. I'm, in the latter stages of my life, certainly in the autumn of my life. Never thought that I'd be learning as much now as I have been, and it's wonderful.
To go just a bit deeper, could you pick one thing? I mean, you've already talked about the value of learning how to pay attention and listen. Is there something else that you feel like has been invested in your life, or something that you've learned that feels like it's really been valuable to you?
Well, as I mentioned to you at one point there, I feel seen. I feel these people see me. I can be who I am. This is a place where I can open up and be accepted as I am. Also, there are things in me, and again, this is true, something else that does, that I've managed to develop and see who God made me to be, and to be able to use those skills and blessings. And that's really been incredibly wonderful. It's been actually one of the most liberating things to be told this is who you are, and you say, yeah, that is me. Wow, I can be me. This is okay. Fantastic. God made me this way with these gifts, and to be able to express them. Wow, that's fantastic.
We learn a lot about who we are through the eyes of other people.
Yes.
Deeply, and can call forth what they see in us. So I think that's what you're saying.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
Okay. Thank you, John. Pleasure.
What a remarkable journey. From sadness and silence in the pews to discovering a relational goldmine that reawakened his heart. Tony's story reminds us that we were never meant to settle for a one-way version of church. We were designed for participation, for deep, meaningful connection, for spiritual family. And what struck me most, it wasn't complicated. It wasn't a flashy program. It was simple, relational, repeatable, and real. If something inside you is resonating, if you're wondering what it would feel like to truly be seen, heard and called forth, we'd love to help you explore what Tony discovered. At Luke 10, our intro call is a no-pressure conversation designed just for that. It's not a pitch, it's a place to be heard, to ask questions, to see if this kind of joy-fueled community is for you. To take your first step, visit lk10.com/intro and schedule your call today. That's lk10.com/intro. There may be a place for you here. Thanks for joining me today on Stories from the Revolution. If today's conversation stirred something in you, would you please consider passing it along to someone who needs to hear it? Just tap that share button and send it their way by text, email, or social. Until next time, keep listening, keep loving, and keep leading like Jesus.